Hey, this is Sam Black with my third match with Abzan Soul Sisters. I'm on the play here, and I have a Pridemate gain life hand, so I'll keep and hope that plan works. I'm gonna fetch a swamp with this. Although, I guess if I'm playing against Urza lands, I might as well fetch a dual land. I'll get Godless Shrine. Alright, so I have a pretty fast clock here. Nothing else going on, but that could easily be enough. That was a perfect draw. Alright, so my opponent has hit Tron and played Platinum Angel. My deck actually has no answer to Platinum Angel main. I don't think there's any reason to bluff being able to answer that, because I will be able to answer it after sideboarding. So it's better for me if my opponent thinks that I can't. So I think I have a reason to just concede immediately here. Alright, well, that was interesting. I'm going to assume that every Tron deck has enough artifacts that I want Stony Silence. And I probably want Kataki more than some of the other threats, and I definitely want Thoughtseize. And I would like to be able to kill Platinum Angel. I don't necessarily want a lot of removal though, since I have Thoughtseize and stuff. Let's see, what do I not want? I think I don't want Lingering Souls, because it's not great against counter spells and not necessarily fast enough. The life gain stuff isn't very good, but it gives me my fastest clock with Pridemate. I think that's worth keeping around. I think Wayfinder is worse when I don't have Lingering Souls. I think I can just cut those. And I'll cut a Blood Artist. This obviously won't work. This looks pretty good. I'm gonna get Godless Shrines so that I have the mana to cast Voice Resurgence. It's a lot of thirsts. It's interesting. I think I just take one of them even though my opponent has Talisman of Dominance because I have Kataki. They're just so bad, and Talisman of Dominance is my opponent's only turn to play. But Kataki's so good against it. I'm just going to take a thirst. Get this down to turn off my opponent's counter spells. I think Kataki is better than Stony Silence because it attacks. Yeah, either one shuts down the Talisman here. I think my opponent's just casting Thirst and Upkeep, which is fine. I guess maybe I should have played Stony Silence to prevent that, since my opponent only had 2 lands, and may have just not drawn another mana. But getting the extra clock is certainly not irrelevant. Oh, and my opponent missed a land drop anyway. I think it's better to keep applying pressure rather than try to preemptively turn off an artifact. The only way that that backfires if my opponent plays like a land and an expedition map. So here I want to be able to cast both of my spells because I'm putting my opponent to 8 and I want 8 power, and turning off artifacts artifacts is better than not turning off artifacts. So Sullen actually gives a blocker, which saves my opponent. Trying to think about whether there's any reason to or not to return to the ranks. I think it's better not to. Just in case my opponent can somehow kill my stuff. I don't think I want to change anything. This hand I can curve out, and I have Blood Artist with Seer for reach. I have mana. I have no interaction and no 2-power creatures. I can probably do better than that, and I think a random hand is unlikely to be substantially worse. This is fine. This is probably about similar overall. Much better if I draw a sack outlet. There's a sack outlet. So I think my opponent wants to map here, so I'm going to try to get Voice of Resurgence into play to prevent future counterspells. And my opponent condescends here, which is fine. Puts a creature in my graveyard. I suppose I could play Soul's Attendant and return to the ranks my Voice of Resurgence. I think I'd rather play Cartel Aristocrat, but I'm not completely sure that that's correct. Well, Soul's Attendant would have been better against Remand. Which is kind of a reasonable argument. If I had played Soul's Attendant, and then that would have resolved, and then I would have cast Return to the Ranks, which would have been remanded. And then my opponent would have one more life, but I'd have a Soul's Attendant in play, which would definitely be better. That's interesting. How bad is Mindslaver for me? That's my opponent Cartel Aristocrat and sack all my creatures. kind of annoying. I guess the way to mitigate that is to not play Soul's Attendant so that there are fewer creatures to be sacrificed. Okay, so what I'm afraid of here is looping Mindslaver. I think it's worth not playing Soul's Attendant. Obviously, the best thing I can draw is Stony Silence. There's Stony Silence. So my opponent can't Mindslaver me on their turn and can't deal with the Stony Silence, so I should be able to just play my Stony Silence on my next turn. And here my opponent can cast Cartel Aristocrat, return to the ranks for 0, and sack my Soul's Attendant, but that puts Cartel Aristocrat in play. Could also just return to the ranks for 0. Okay. My opponent didn't see return to the ranks for 0. Oh, did my opponent already... Oh, he already returned the Mindslaver. Oh, maybe I'm already dead. This is play and activate Slaver. Then is there enough mana to get it back, play it, and activate it next turn? I think there's... Okay, so I think next turn my opponent won't have enough to do it all unless they have another land. Oh, plays and sacrifices Kitaki, sure. Which actually puts it in a place where it's arguably easier for me to cast because I return to the ranks, but that's fine. Yeah, so my opponent needs another tower. Unless I'm missing something. Yeah, it looks like they don't have it, so just move on to draw stop. So let's see if I can resolve this. Great. Okay, that might do it. Yeah, because now they can just map for another tower, and then Academy Ruins Mindslaver, and then lock me. That was a good draw, the repeal. Yeah, get back slaver, and then play tower, play activate return, and that is enough to loop that. So I'm dead from here. So that's the match.